moving to a future really quickly where you've just got to trust TikTok or Meta that it looked at your ad, it knows what the people are saying, it knows that it's a woman in her 20s, it knows what the call to action is, the sale, and it's not pushing it because it knows what's going to happen, at least better than your media buyer does. And that's when you just need variety. If creative is the new targeting and you're trying to target multiple personas, you need a lot of it.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of What's Working in E-commerce. I'm your trusty host, Eagan Heath. I'm a partner at Asymmetric Marketing, and you can check us out at asymmetric.pro, A-S-Y-M, metric.pro. We build WordPress WooCommerce websites, do on-site SEO, Google Ads, paid social, email automation, and much more. So check us out over there. Today, I'm speaking with a very experienced entrepreneur and business leader and marketer. I'm very excited to have on John Gargiulo. John, please introduce yourself so people can know more about your vast experience here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. I was a brand guy originally. So I went to Miami Ad School for copywriting in a past life and then worked in the New York agency world, coming up with TV commercials and that kind of fun stuff. And then fast forward to the 2010s, I joined Airbnb in 2016. I was there for a few years, leading product marketing, and then started Ready Set in 2019 with Sam McAlew, who came over from Nanigans, really recognizing there was a gap between sort of the Mad Men brand world and the developing performance paid social world. And you needed good ads, but you needed a lot more of them a lot faster than the Mad Men era. So we built a studio in LA and we're off and running.
Amazing. Thank you for talking about that. Airbnb, tell us about what you did there and what you learned from that.
Yeah, I was in an interesting niche wedge part of the company at the time, which is product marketing. Both before and after that, I think Brian and the team there have rethought what product marketing looks like. But I had a really interesting sort of field of vision because that was one cool thing about our group is that we could work with a lot of different parts of the company and launches and things like that. And our CMO was an incredible brand guy, really cared about building a great brand, identifying and fitting into the culture. And obviously Airbnb did that really well. The head of performance marketing is also a good friend of mine, was those guys are awesome humans, but also spending through a lot of money that we don't know if we're going to get back in revenue. And if you're not getting paid 105% back in 30 days, why would you do it? Kind of thing. So those ethoses clashed a little bit. Again, it was really super amicable, but it was just a little confusing of a time. And then COVID hit. I was out by that point. But when they stopped all of their performance advertising, which when I was there, it was we got to go on performance because booking is spending billions. Actually, there wasn't a commensurate drop off in bookings on Airbnbs. And so that was a lightning bulb for Brian, our CEO, and he never brought performance back to a fraction of what it was and sloshed back in his own mind in public state.
Performance or brand? Sorry, which one?
So performance was a big rush in the 2016, 17, 18 when bookings seemed to be fighting us and spending so much more money on performance. When COVID hit and they turned all that off and bookings did not go down as much once COVID settled, Brian became a real brand. That's what he cared about the most. And now you'll hear him in interviews being pretty contrarian, saying performance marketing is okay, but we really want to make an investment in brand. He describes performance marketing as a laser and brand marketing as a chandelier that lights up the whole room. So neither is bad, but they've gone the brand direction.
Pretty interesting. And I know you run a big agency now. Maybe you could tell us about it. And how do you think about that tension of kind of the classic brand versus direct response or performance?
Yeah, they're definitely not mutually exclusive, of course. They definitely help each other, right? We're both more likely to buy a Nike shoe than an Acme shoe on a click-through rate, tap on it, convert performance-wise because we trust the brand. So we know that to be true. And it's really hard, particularly in a tough time for e-com, for marketing executives to justify big flowery brand spend on TV and events and things like that when it's really hard to prove causation and the money coming back in. So it's a complicated time. We work with a lot of companies with marketing departments that are, like I talked about with Airbnb, it's sloshing back and forth between the two groups. I think the most sophisticated CEOs are figuring out that they are both important and you cannot hold brand to the same kind of metrics, monthly, minute by minute metrics you hold performance. So that's where we come down. I think both are important.
Yeah, it's an investment and it could brand could increase your direct response performance. That really makes sense. Anything else you want to say about your agency? I know you guys really have a big one, and you started relatively recently. I wonder if you could just tell the story of what you guys do and that incredible growth that you've seen.
Yeah, like I mentioned, we saw this big gap between the brand world and the performance world. And frankly, we just saw companies and now clients like DoorDash and Robinhood and Hims and Hers that wanted to grow really quickly, had a good product, sold stuff through the internet, and were telling us stories about going to New York production companies that wanted $150,000 to make an ad or three. And that's just really not how Facebook or Instagram or TikTok work, right? You need to have a lot. I actually believe in the future, you're going to need to have thousands of ads to run. Right now, most folks, even sophisticated ones, are running tens a month. So there was that big need in the market. There was a lot of VC money at that time flooding in that powered a lot of things. And so it was just a perfect coming together of stuff. And I love the production side of things. My co-founder really understands how to build ops and scale and great people management. And we were very intentional about the culture. That was another thing I learned at Airbnb. So things just lined up and we grew incredibly fast.
Pretty interesting. And you're really focusing on the creative, it sounds, and those would be running on Instagram, TikTok, and so forth. Is that right?
Yes. That's our legacy. So very much creative is at our core. We have huge remote teams that find actors all over the world, frankly, and shoot them. They shoot themselves with guided direction. And then we've got this 10,000 square foot studio space in LA with bathroom sets, bedroom sets, kitchens with all changeable backsplashes. And our full-time production team is shooting there every day, constantly for a lot of different folks. So that's our core. That's our DNA. About a year and a half ago, we hired an incredible executive who's like a media programmatic savant. Search is extremely established. Sam and I said, okay, creative is a huge lever. Let's do those other important pieces, particularly if we can help you with media and media strategy and creative. It's 1 + 1 = 3. So we did that, but we only wanted to do things that we knew we could be the best at and not just add those agencies with 23 things listed on their site. So we're still quite focused on 5 or 6 key things.
Yeah. And I wonder if you could say a bit about the growth too. Was it the quality of the creative? Was it the performance it would then see? Were you building up referral partners where they were the ad buyers? How did you grow the team and the clientele so fast?
I'd say 80% of it, if not more, is performance, right? If, I have a friend who looks at this very cynically. He's actually an agency guy talking about any newfangled tool or company or whatever. He's like, I'll try anything once. I'm an optimist. I'll root for it. I will try it. I'll pay you a little bit. If I don't make more money with these ads for this client than I'm spending versus what I was doing before we met, then I'm good luck to you, but I'm not interested. So that's like a very hardcore mindset. But frankly, most clients, especially in this environment where e-com's been really hit down recently, that's the bar you have to get to. I just met with one of our biggest clients and he was saying, I feel like there's 2 things he cares about. He said, the partnership, the communication, right? That is important, and the performance. And luckily we're hitting on both for him there. So that was a great meeting, but that's not always the case. And I will say about Ready Set, and frankly, vulnerably, I wonder sometimes how much this matters, right? When performance is up or down. The partnership piece, like just being good humans and being flexible in all things is important to us, like living our values internally and externally. So, I like to think that's helped a lot, but I can't tell you, there's been more than once over the years that someone said, we love you guys, we don't want to leave, but usually it's Facebook's not working for our vertical. We're going to be shutting down Facebook and can't continue.
But the ad buyers are somewhere else. You guys weren't pulling those levers. You were really focused on the creative.
We weren't in the past. We were completely focused on the creative. And frankly, that market got more crowded too. Like we were one of the first in, particularly building a lot of good video creative at scale, which is hard. Now you can raise your hand on Twitter and somebody somewhere will shoot something in their house while we're on this podcast in the next couple of hours. It probably won't be good. And big companies can't do DIY that way, or they have to hire a lot of expensive people internally to wrangle it all. But it is more crowded. And frankly, we joked, like, I think we realized we're doing the harder part. Like a lot of great agencies and leaders I admire and have contact with now, they're like, help. We've been doing media or SEM for years. We've tried to set up a creative studio. We know creative is important. And even from afar, when I'm like, oh, it looks like they figured it out, the CEO will be like, we cannot get video creative to work at scale. Either clients don't want to pay extra for it, or we're not very good at it. It's not our DNA. So instead of joining one of those places, Sam and I figured, let's hire the best people. And media buying and search and programmatic and YouTube and expand from here.
I love that. Thank you for talking about it. I wonder if you could say a little bit about why is creative important and what makes great creative now?
It just feels with all the platforms going algorithmic with, the bells and whistles and levers. I'm thinking of, I don't know, picture a stereo or submarine in 1950 versus today, right? Or a plane, like the movie Airplane. There's 712 little knobs. And I remember from like 2011, 2012, people posting on Reddit, oh, and Facebook, if you do this hack, then this happens. And then you cut the testing phase. But those hacks are like long gone. It's actually amazing to me. There's a lot of people that still try to do that kind of thing. The platform's black boxes are just smarter than most media buyers can manually adjust things. I say that with a big asterisk because there are things you can do to structure your account correctly. We see it every day. But creative is the lever. And it's actually even more exciting today because the platforms can now read all the creative, even the video creative with this descriptive AI stuff that's happening, right? You can run 50 things, 50 diverse video ads, and one might get $1.17 of spend. I think, and that's still the conventional wisdom, you've got to force more spend into them. But I think we're moving towards a place, I mentioned you should be running thousands of ads earlier in the future. We're moving to a future really quickly where you've just got to trust TikTok or Meta that it looked at your ad, it knows what the people are saying, it knows that it's a woman in her 20s, it knows what the call to action is, the sale, and it's not pushing it because it knows what's going to happen, at least better than your media buyer does. And that's when you just need variety. You just need more creative, right? If creative is the new targeting and you're trying to target multiple personas, you need a lot of it.
Yeah, thank you for talking about that. Something just came to mind from a book I read. It was trying to visualize data and relationships and correlations and things that AI is really good at, right? And we can picture a gymnasium and people lined up in it, and maybe short to tall, and maybe skinny to fat, and then maybe some other dimension like diagonally going the other way. We can go X, Y, Z, but as soon as we think in a fourth dimension, like our brain kind of breaks. Like we don't encounter that in our lives if we don't count time as the fourth dimension. And so AI is looking for little correlations, could be among dozens or hundreds of variables, right? And
That's
so
right.
when you say, John, you may need thousands of videos, it may be little minute things where we would not live long enough to do enough A/B tests to figure out what's statistically significant, but the machine can do it. Is that how you think about it?
100%. And the thing that would have sounded insane 10 years ago is, and even then, the tech doesn't know why it's making these choices per se, right? These neural networks work in like a brain. So we don't know exactly why our brain remembers that random thing for 10 years ago in a dream. And full stop. So just pushing the more things into that machinery. And it's still early. Like it was only recently, 6 months ago, Gemini from Google demoed a Buster Keaton movie, auto descriptions that not only said man, black and white, apple, paper, which has been around for a while, but it said like the man with the blue tie or the man with the black tie slips a note in the pocket of the other guy with the hat on. A close-up of the note reveals that it says, meet me at this street address. The woman looks concerned, but you can watch it in your head. That's really new. So imagine the ad platform's abilities to watch things. And then, what you said, the neural networks putting everything together. It's good luck trying to A/B test or multivariate test. Just give it lots of creative. And building a lot of creative, especially video creative, is really hard still. So that's what we're focused on. And we're building our own AI actually to piece those things together.
Oh, amazing. I was going to show real quick. I did a little presentation on what SEO looks like in the age of AI. And one of the things I came up with is within marketing, we're going in each of these directions. And the reason I thought of this when you said that with Buster Keaton was it's going this direction. We don't think about very much of input a video and give me writing description of that video. And so it sounds like that's appropriate here. We're submitting UGC or other creative, and it's possible the AI is grogging it. It understands, even though we didn't say this is what this is a picture of.
That's exactly right. And it lends itself to other use cases too. Whether we build it or someone else does, you could easily imagine at some point in the next few years, a website that says drag and drop an MP4 or link to something in Foreplay or Facebook ad library of a competitor ad. And you go, make this for me. Grab all the footage you want. Imagine it can also tag and describe your footage. I got this massive Dropbox folder here at Airbnb or wherever. Pull stuff in, write a voiceover, have an avatar person that fits my certain personas come up on the screen, have 20 of them come up, give me 20 MP4s. And I want it to be the same kind of structure and hook not word for word, but for my brand. And it just gives them to you. Like, that's coming.
Yeah, amazing. I know you said we could start anywhere with your career. Like, you've got such interesting background and such great experience.
Thanks.
Going from service then into product and this AI piece, tell us a bit about Airpost. I wonder if you could show us a bit about what it does, because I think people are really going to be impressed and want to check this out.
Yeah, it's very exciting for us here. I'll do a little see and say with the website. This thing just launched a couple weeks ago. So the idea behind Airpost stems back to a deck I made in 2020. We've been building towards this for a very long time. We've got 20 engineers, product managers. We've put a lot into building the foundation of this thing. And the idea is to democratize video ads for everybody. And I'll show you what that looks like. And I'll actually pull up real ads that the thing can make.
One thing
that is the idea. The idea.
One thing that's interesting about this then is this is not one of those cheapo sort of things of, I'm going to describe something, I want it to spit out a video that's taking me into uncanny valley territory.
Right.
You've got this element of, there is a studio, there is a physical shoot, and then lots of rapid variation, like you said.
Exactly. So picture visually like your own Instagram feed, TikTok video feed, right? Each of those ads is produced manually. We've all done it. Ready Set does it. It's not that different, frankly, from the way they did it in the Mad Men age. Maybe it's a little cheaper now. Maybe you can have a creator do it instead of a big studio, but it's generally very manual. So Airpost automates the production of UGC video ads at the same quality in a way that's much cheaper and easier. So to your point about physical shoots, and this is, you sign up on the wait list at Airpost.ai. You send us your product. We've got a 10,000 square foot studio in LA with a full-time team there. We shoot 30 shots of your product. Picture people going around those sets I talked about with iPhones, with AI generated shot lists, right? Unboxing, hands using the product, hero shots. Then our AI technology takes all the footage, voiceovers, music, supers, all those ingredients, and pieces together hundreds of diverse video ads based on different performance frameworks we've developed over the last 5 years. And then you can either edit them in the platform, download them, and it's a little bit nuts right now. I think we'll move away from this to a more sane system, but it's unlimited ads for $149 right now. I'm a believer in the Peter Thiel, like it can't be comparison or 20% better than what's out there. Or I could just use a guy on Twitter to make an ad for $300. It has to be like 100 times better or 10 times better, I think he says. And so it's almost free and you're getting this huge shoot. You're getting hundreds of ads and it's not there yet, to be honest, as you'll see. But what we are headed towards and our roadmap is going to get us there is that the quality of those video ads is the same that you would get if you spent 10 times the price and did them one at a time.
All right. Can you show us some of these, John?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see if this works. So these are a little older, but they're ads that Airpost made for Scentbird. So this is like a subscription fragrance. And some of them are kind of short and snappy and trendy. Some of them are like voiceover. You may have seen something like that before. It may not feel that revolutionary, but everything here was made entirely with AI. There's no people involved in editing, sourcing, making any of these. We did these shots, like that's in our studio, and then AI pieces together the rest based on very specific prompts, very specific frameworks.
It's embarrassing how addicted I am to Scentbird. I can't stop discovering new fragrances. Every time I want to feel unique, I wear a fragrance that fits my mood and always receive compliments.
I could tell you 14 things that are not great about that ad, but you can see the path we're on once that voiceover improves, once the scripts get a little more catchy. I just got off a call before this where I saw that we are in QC now for introducing a feature where we can introduce visual hooks at the beginning. And I was joking with the team, like the moment I see a real ad for a real customer that opens with a fidget spinner or squishing clay or some oddly satisfying thing, I'll be very happy. And they're like, oh, it's coming this week. So there's a lot of the roadmap to make it better. So I've no doubt that we're going to get to that quality bar. And then the question becomes, it's what happens when the cost of creative goes towards zero? We joke internally, it's a race to the bottom and we're going to win it. But there's some floor, right? You can't get a manual ad produced even by a creator for less than some 3-figure amount. But what if you could have thousands of them, which is our goal, with all flavors of creative, all flavors of performance frameworks, short, long, value prop 1, value prop 5, all the value props in a minute and a half ad, right? And give them all to that AI in the platforms that we talked about and let it run. Our thesis is that's going to be just the way you do advertising online in 5 years. And we want to get there first.
Pretty interesting. So you guys you're shooting the product. I saw it cutting to here's a high-end image of the product. And then the emotional stuff, seeing the actor or the person in it, that same video, that clip could be repurposed for someone else's. We're getting the vibe of the brand, but when it's time to cut to the product, then we've got that's specific to the product.
Exactly.
Right?
So we have hundreds of shots of 100 plus actors doing all the things, having trouble sleeping well, et cetera. So if you've got a Brooklinen as the client, the AI will know when the person talks about, I can't sleep because my sheets make me sweat, whatever, to pull in the shot of that actress having trouble sleeping. Even that is not there yet. It's a lot of people smiling weirdly and dancing and things like that, but I'm just so close to it. I think they're fine. But getting the AI to pick from that variety is huge. Also, we own over 300,000 vertical video clips that we've built up over the last 5 years from a lot of shoots. Just tons of things, dogs, cats, right? That's really hard to shoot for a pet client. We don't even have on our roadmap right now the thing I was joking yesterday. I've been talking about since 2019 because we've had, or 2020 rather, because we've had this in our head the whole time, which is, we're building up this repository, the biggest I think we have of vertical video. You could call it stock, right? UGC style stuff in the world. And someday we are going to be able to access it. We didn't know AI was coming. That's been a huge tailwind. So I think when that day comes and we can pull from 300,000 pieces of UGC footage, it's just going to get better and better.
Yeah, pretty amazing. I love what you're doing. I had a little moment of that recently. I was showing someone at the bar. I was walking through a cemetery by my house and I found a gravestone and I did the math and somebody was 115 years old.
Oh my gosh.
By the birth and death date. So I took a picture of it and I wanted to pull it up in Apple Photos and show it to someone. And I just searched like for the grave basically and it got it. And it's almost like that sort of thing of, the goalpost keeps moving and we're shrugging our shoulders that everything's amazing and nobody cares. It's like, just like, where was this at a year ago? Where will it be in 1, 2,
it's incredible how fast things normalize. And particularly our space, growth, e-commerce, it moves so fast. You don't want to be left behind. And we like to think being at the bleeding edge of this stuff, we could also be wrong. It could just be that, for example, there's a lot of companies out there that use AI to auto edit something that you're working on by making some changes and things like that. And they're really cool. When we did a lot of customer research and product marketing research, we found most people saying, you know what, I already have a guy in Manila. He's so inexpensive. He's so great. I send him something before I go to bed. He tweaks the ending, does what I need. So for that one-by-one stuff, we felt, okay, maybe that path is a dead end. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this path will be like we hope, which is this is just the obvious way you get ads a year from now. And maybe we'll be wrong. We often compare it to the Shutterstock story, which is a pretty incredible bootstrap story. So I don't forget when they started. It was like 2001 or something like that. If you and I worked for Delta Airlines in 2001 and we needed a photo for our brochure or whatever, we called up a photographer rep in New York and we went around and saw some binders and we went to some offices and negotiated a $14,000, $15,000, $150,000 shoot. And went to the shoot and we shot the brief guy in the briefcase walking by the nice glass in the airport, right? And then 5 years later, you're like, yeah, I could do that, or I could pay $99 for a really nice shot that someone took at the Singapore airport. And that's just a way, at least for a large amount of photos, that it was done. And that's how we feel about this. You'll still be crafting custom ads. There'll still be Super Bowl spots in 10 years for sure. But whereas that manual crafting is 100% of things today, we think this automated kind of way of doing things is going to take over.
Pretty exciting. All right. So your agency is readyset.co, right?
Yes.
And then airpost.ai. I recommend people check it out. This is pretty cool stuff. Looks like there's a wait list right now, John.
The wait list has gotten so silly big that if you're listening to this and you want me to help you get off of it, just write me john@airpost.ai because the products that are best for this, Eagan, are like ones you can hold in your hand.
Getting a mug shot and make.
I just got an email from a guy who loved his first stuff. He's got mugs and cups and that kind of stuff. So he's sending us more products. We got a nice email from a founder of a chocolates company. She just said, I love these. When can I get more stuff? That went around with a lot of high fives on Slack. So anything like that, whereas mattresses or, I don't know, space rockets, not as easy to shoot.
Small and easy shoot. Yeah. This is great. All right. People can check it out at airpost.ai. John, anywhere else people should follow or connect with you?
No, LinkedIn. Yeah, just John Gargiulo on LinkedIn, Twitter. And yeah, and also on all this stuff, like we don't know anything, like we're learning. Feedback, I really believe, is a gift. And this stuff is so new and so raw. Even just as we plan out our roadmap and the features, right? For example, we don't have the ability to just say, send this ad to Facebook, right? Into my media library. That's probably something people want, but we don't want to build it unless people are asking for it. There's just so much opportunity in front of us, and we're so obsessed with the customer and making sure that we are building something people want. So if you check out airpost.ai and you're like, not for me, I want to know why. If you do it and you don't like it, I want to know why. If you do it and you love it, I want to know why. I'm just John at airpost.ai.
All right. Taking that lean startup approach. I appreciate it, John. We'll have
Awesome.
to keep in touch. We'll have to have you come back on. Thank you for coming on and sharing what's working and what's about to be working in e-commerce.
I hope so. Nice talking with you, Eagan.
Thank you, John.